Just check the Copa America chat if you haven't. Oh, I forgot I got to update the names, guys. I'm sorry. This is still left over from last time. That is my bad. Sendoh. Save that. This is Windy. You know, we'll just call him Major. Sadly, this guy, no matter what he does for the rest of his career, no matter what his name is, he's always going to be known as Major. Whether it's a good or a bad thing, that's for you to decide, the audience. Or him to wallow in pity. Regardless, hello and welcome to Copa America, guys. First cast of the day. First game in this best of 3. It's for Group A as we start the group stages here today. We started off right, spawning here in the top right corner of the map from Chaos Latin Gamers. It is the blue Terran player, Sendoh. I don't know why I hit trouble with that color, but you know.
In the upper left, as the red Terran, it is Major.
Alright, so Major already doing something a little bit interesting, and that's with the depot right next to the mineral line. So is Sendoh. So a kind of slightly greedier opening. I gotta be honest though, with the amount of TVTs right now that are ending in those medevac 111 pushes, I'm surprised we don't see a lot of people just by default putting the depot at the ramp.
Yeah, those Hellion pushes with the Marines and the medevac, they're kind of like the easy win builds that you try and get. You know, you usually don't have those as a Terran. Maybe the T-Rex, maybe. But that one, you just, like, you learn that one, you get a couple of free wins. Pretty early on.
It's kind of astounding, too. TVT's always had some of the most abrupt openers that can end games. You know, started with the T-Rex Reaper at the start of Heart of the Swarm. Of course, Banshees became incredibly popular once the cloak change came in. But, yeah, I'm kind of hoping we find a way to see the Hellbats utilized for the earlier Hellions. But that's not something I think is going to come into effect anytime soon. Because the TVT Hellions are just alone so good. But,
yeah, I think they're... I don't want to say they're better because they can kite Marines and all of that, but they seem to be doing their job well enough just as Hellions. And plus, I think getting the armory so early with when you're only on one base, because, you know, in TVT you're on one base much longer than any other matchup usually. You know, most of our builds are on one base. Getting the armory just, you know, you can't really get that gas and also get Viking and Ravens or Banshees.
Well, Sendoh gonna get a little bit of a scout off right now. Of course, gonna probably try to wait and see if it's gonna be a Reaper or Marine. At this point, he's probably gonna know it's a Marine though, because slightly different build times. But pops out there. Either way, he's on his way home. For Major, it's also a Marine just to deal with. Single player opening with Reaper, rightfully so. I mean, it's Habitation Station. This isn't the best map for them in the first place.
Yeah, they really aren't. You're almost guaranteed to just die. Sendoh looks to be going for an expansion, though, potentially on the low ground. If he is on the low ground, it's going to be even more difficult to defend against a potential, you know, medevac Hellion attack, because you have to defend 2 places. In fact, it's just a general why you don't see many low ground command centers at all in TVT is that it's much harder to defend 2 places, if they're going Hellions or if they're going Banshees, which is definitely the 2 most common openers.
You know, it's kind of sad, too, because you'll see players spread Marines out, kind of like what Sendoh is doing, and the idea is that the Hellions can't get the one line shot that kills them all, but if you guys caught Acer Team Strike Up last week, Daishi found his opponent at the top of the ramp, line of Marines, he just walked to the side with the Hellion and hit every single one of them in that straight line. It was so dirty to watch. And that's part of why they're better, guys, just the area of effect in that straighter line. They got a little bit more range to them than Hellbats do, but... one thing just worth noting, guys, not that I think it'll come into effect tonight, but there was a patch today, and up until recently there was a small exploit that had recently made public where, again, a 2-player map especially, it's not going to come into effect, where you could have done a little bit of shenanigans with your workers to build them and use the mineral patches to exploit and find out where your opponent was in 4-player spawn maps. It's worth noting, as of today on June 5th, that's been patched and fixed. So any worries or concerns moving forward with the rest of Copa America, that will not be involved whatsoever. But another patch, the one that ZombieGov and I were kind of alluding to while we were talking at the start of this game, was the Hellbat change. Recently they made it so you only need the armory to activate transformation servos, an upgrade you used to need out of the tech lab. So not a whole lot of slew of differences here, but it is worth noting we still had some pretty neat patches. But this is that push we're talking about, the oh-so-standard 111. This worked out nicely, though. He'll catch the Hellions right away, potentially.
Doesn't seem to be as strong. Those were not meant to do that. Oh. That's was one thing about taking on the low ground, is that apparently Major did not expect to find them on the low ground. So this attack is very successfully thwarted. I mean, just like slapped in the face, kind of. And I don't think it was it wasn't even the strongest attack that you can do. Mostly we see like a full medevac He was missing 2 Marines and also 4 Hellions. He only had 2 and a third one joining up with them. So that wasn't like, you know, dedicating a lot to one base. But seeing as how Sendoh did get such an early command center, you would have hoped to do some more damage than none at all.
I thought it was a pretty solid hold, though. A lot of the times that does catch players off guard. We're seeing even some of the best Europeans, Koreans, North Americans get caught off by that and just simply die. But Elevate is what little he had left up here to the natural, so he might get an SCV or 2 for his troubles. 1 at least.
Yeah, just, well, okay, if they line up, he was moving across the map and his other units were on the high ground.
Oh, he's going to get the medevac, though. That's going to be really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, Sendoh having a really good start. I think Major's had a pretty breezy time throughout all the qualifiers, and of course he's a favorite to win. He did win last last year's, which one do we call it, but the last Copa America, and
well, actually,
of course he's been playing really well.
The only other Copa America to have ever.
Okay, there you go. But he's also been playing really well, and of course he made it out of WCS groups. So you might have expected a little bit like, you know, like, okay, this is gonna do ton damage, then I'm gonna coast through this too, and Sendoh's actually in a really good position instead.
Yeah, I wouldn't say Sendoh's so far ahead that he's automatically won the game yet. I mean, the worker count's still fairly even. The economy can really change. The thing about TVT that drastically affects this matchup the most, kind of what we're seeing here, where some units can just straight up counter other units really hardcore. Whether it's a siege line of tanks or whether it's one Banshee catching a bunch of Hellions. Oh, this Banshee's actually not going to have cloak in time for this. Three Vikings this early, not something Major was expecting.
Yeah, probably. You should go ahead and just cancel cloak. The only thing the Banshee's doing that's worth anything right now is taking the Vikings away from the main attack army. But even then, that's not a whole lot. So I think Cloak did finish. You know, could have got 100 back.
Okay, well the tank's in a pretty good, pretty awkward spot, I should say. Not good. It's good that he has a tank out. Is what my brain was going towards. But bottom of the ramp like that exposed, a bit odd to see.
Mm-hmm. Is Sendoh going for? Oh, it actually really hasn't chosen yet. There he goes. So on a factory as well as an armory, and a Major with a perfectly timed scan sees that second factory.
Okay, so mech's kind of funny, guys. If you've never seen mech TVT, this is going to change 2 big things. One, Major going by himself is going to be allowed to make Marauders, something that you usually can't afford to do. Combination good and bad against tanks depending on how you use them, but they're really good against Hellions, whereas Marines will just get melted to bits. Downside for Major, he's not going to have a lot of air control for the rest of this game, because for Sendoh, it's going to be primarily Hellions for the early game, and then mix in some tanks and Thors later on.
Yeah. Yeah, you really have to dedicate a lot to trying to beat out the mech player's Viking count, which can be worthwhile. If you beat them out in a surprise and you get some Banshees, then that's a lot of free tanks, and sometimes we even see games drastically change because of that. But it is a solid decision that you have to make before they push out at 150 or 200, and you know, then you just don't have enough Marauders because you're trying to switch over to Banshees.
Okay, so Major took a pretty heavy hit early on, but finds a good spot over here. Banshee will get on top of the tank. That cloak's going to work out pretty nicely. Raven is slowly banking up energy. He's not able to do 2 secret missiles, so no free tank kill just yet, but I'm a little bit shocked by Sendoh. With the amount of Vikings he has, he should not have lost anything to this Banshee, much less 2 units.
Yeah, I did not see that Major got a second Banshee as well, so the cloak did come into some effect here. Not much. As you can notice in the production tab, Major's stim was very, very late. Like, really late. But that is actually TVT. You can get super late stim and still be going for bio. These Marines though are just hard to get melted by these Hellions if they get any sort of good lineup.
He goes in for the tank right away. Of course, with the Hellions, it should be on top of the Marines, not the tank. That's a lot of wasted DPS, and quite frankly, Sendoh's not looking so good in this engagement. He'll clean this up, but this should have gone a million times more in his favor.
Well, he didn't really lose a lot there, did he? He lost a Raven, which is a lot of gas.
Both the tanks.
Oh, he did lose 2 tanks. Okay, so 2 tanks and a Raven. Yeah, I would trade out for a lot more Marines.
I mean, the thing is, like, if those Hellions run to the tank for the dead zone, great. But if they'd shot the Marines after, fantastic. I'm not saying that was a bad engagement for Sendoh where he's screwed, but that could have and should have gone a lot better.
Sendoh is confidently on 3 bases. A lot of the time on this map, we see the mech player go ahead and take the gold base because they're usually guaranteed to have the bigger and better siege count, which is what really deters usually a Terran player from taking the gold base in CVT, is that if you do lose your tank position, you lose your gold very easily. But Sendoh just going for this third, similar to Major. Major really hasn't started dropping or anything yet. One center tower is up, covering the third of the natural, but the main is still pretty open.
I wonder if Major's going to keep going for these small little guerrilla fights too, because a lot of the time, well, the siege lines are always going to be better. Bio players end up having that nice doom drop potential, and it's so difficult to unsiege 15 tanks at your third and get them to your main in time before factories and tech labs go down.
Yeah, it is. Windy, rather Major, not really looking to go for that quite yet. Trying to get up his own tank count is really tank bio is really what's dominated versus mech and TVT. Your tank line lets you survive in case they do decide to counterattack, and also gives you a bit more position that you usually don't have with bio. But Windy could be preparing for... God, I keep saying Windy. Like, this has never happened before. Major keeps... Major is going to be looking to go for, at least one two-pronged attack. Hopefully he'll think about doom dropping eventually, although the missile starts are going up for Sendoh now.
Okay, if he gets top of the tanks quick enough, there's only 3, but decides not to dedicate. The Vikings are not in position for this. He could have gone for some drops, but now that's no longer an option. For Major, it's a little bit awkward, because he's in this nice spot where he can definitely do some harass if the army's in the wrong spot at the wrong time. But Sendoh, I like that he's left a good chunk of his tanks on siege, so that he can reposition, so that he doesn't get caught completely with his pants down, all tanks sieged in the wrong spot. Major takes this time to take another base, the 4th down here to the south while this is going on, and nobody, curiously enough, has gone for those golds yet.
No, not yet. Major really hasn't been... Usually if they're going to go heavily into bio, and especially without tanks, you'll see a bit of a supply difference, 20 usually, and then they'll start trying to trade cost effectively. Now, if they're going for tanks, then that doesn't happen nearly as often, but Major just hasn't had any supply lead at any really given time, which, could say is really bad for the bio player, because mech is, going to be better pound for pound. And Major is also not going to be going for the air transition first. Sendoh is already getting 3 more starports, getting ready to get a lot of Ravens, it looks like, with those tech labs on. And what can Major do now with what he has? He can try and continue to, do multi-pronged attacks, but Sendoh is going to have a pretty good defensive position.
I like this. Diving in, snipes off a tank, loses like maybe a Marauder and a couple Marines for it, but the Ravens are actually a really interesting choice because, of course, Marauders are really good at shredding tanks, but a point defense drone is also really good at shutting down a Marauder, so let's hope he doesn't prioritize the Seeker Missile. We sometimes see that happen where people just try and carpet bomb the siege tanks, but realistically, sometimes that point defense drone can be infinitely better.
Yeah. Well, Major is pushing out with his entire force. He was slowly banking up some tanks behind there. Now you can see them going across the map, looking to at least deny the 4th, the 3rd. All 3 bases were kind of given for Sendoh, but the 4th was maybe something Major could deny. He can... Oh, actually, he's completely out of position. He is taking that small group of units a lot more seriously than I expected. Okay, he's moving back.
Oh, this one tank on the high ground from Sendoh is a godsend. Gets a free tank kill from Major. This command center might have to lift, but drops heading towards this. Not enough turret coverage. Point defense drone not coming down, but instead an auto turret because that's all he has energy for. And he might clean up the medevacs, but he's going to have to land the Vikings if he wants to really clean this up. Actually, never mind, here comes the tanks and sieged.
Yeah, everything's coming back.
That command center, 30 health and burning. Can he save this? Where's the repair?
He gets it. He's good. He could also, if he had any, the missile, or not missile, it's the auto turrets, the point defense drones, he could definitely clean up the tanks, but okay, Major's gonna clean up this one.
I really like going in with a 1 empty medevac to test the waters to see how big the anti-air is, but gets 4 tanks for this, and quite frankly, guys, you're gonna be so happy to clear out tanks from a mech player. It's really expensive to produce them. The Viking count for Sendoh kind of out of control, so if Major wanted to go for that sort of late-game air tech swap, I don't know that he can necessarily pull that off, because Sendoh just... his air control is kind of just crazy.
That's unfortunately what Major is doing. He's been consistently getting Vikings through most rounds of his starport production. He's gone back into medevacs, but he is also up to 12. It's 12 versus 12, but the Ravens are coming into effect now with Sendoh. And
let's not forget Sendoh's upgrades are going to be a little bit further ahead too.
That's right. They're not too far ahead. Sendoh really not focusing too much on his upgrades.
Alright, well, Auto is going to come down, draw the attention of these siege tanks. Hellbat's going to break this position, and it's only Marauders mostly. He actually lands the Vikings. This will work out pretty nicely as he clears out the rest of the tanks. The problem is, there's nothing for that bio, and in one instant, Sendoh loses a majority of his army. Major with a huge supply lead, and now air control of the game for the first time.
He takes a great fight right there, and it's got to be because Sendoh just was not all together. Plus, Major was attacking at a very critical moment where Sendoh had just invested into 4 starports. He was trying to go over to Ravens. He really didn't have a lot of Ravens or Banshees. So it was pretty much a perfect concoction right there, although Sendoh, I think he could have definitely taken care of it better.
Sendoh's had no Corvid reactors. That's why he's not been able to pop out and do anything with these Ravens. No secret missiles, just auto turrets left and right.
Wasn't he the one that never got Raven upgrades?
Right, that's what I was just thinking. Like, this is the guy I remember screaming and pulling my hair out for. He's sitting here with a lot of Ravens, which is a good idea, but if you've got no energy for them, they're quite frankly useless, and auto turrets just don't cut it versus bio. They're good at drawing the attention of tanks, but that's about it. Starports are falling, base has been drawn off, and quite frankly, this is looking pretty grim here for Sendoh.
Yeah, 100%. Sendoh is saying, like, that was fantastic up until 2 minutes ago. What the hell happened?
Oh yeah, didn't he do this too with the hidden command centers over here?
I don't remember that specifically, although it is kind of cool.
It's just you don't see a lot of players put them back there. So anyways, as far as this goes, even if Sendoh holds off this push right now, guys, he's lost about 3 orbitals to these Vikings so far. He's about to lose another. I have no idea what this is doing. He has no business being here.
Sendoh, yeah, this is game. He just doesn't have. He can't secure past his production. As soon as Major decides to go for the 4th, that's going to go down as well.
I think one thing Sendoh should have done differently, perhaps, was, you know, we didn't seem really paranoid about the drops. We saw a lot of turrets come down, but it was never really that perfect turret ring. If he had set up that perfect turret ring, he could have been the one going on the offensive. He could have been the one pushing and making sure Major couldn't really come and do what he did.
Well, the thing is that Sendoh's game plan was pretty much defend, 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 and then get up to a perfect air army. That's what we saw him, you know, that's what he did. He defended, and then he went and got a lot of starports. I think what went wrong was that he didn't consolidate. He was spreading out his tanks because Major was throwing, like, very small amounts of units, but still, that was, like, 2 tanks in his main, 2 tanks in his natural, 4 down here. So when the attack happened, he really didn't have a big army, and then, of course, some of it was in Vikings and Ravens, which weren't useful at the time.
There's actually no anti-air for this one Banshee. I'm just saying that out there. All the Vikings had to land in fear of the other Vikings, so this one missile turret is the only thing to stop a Banshee.
Yeah. Sendoh, I think a lot of waiting right now is shock. This went so poorly so fast. He's like, this can't be, like, there's got to be something.
It's disappointing, too, because he held off that the opening attack on a Major so strong. You know, came across with those Hellions, looking to do that 1-1-1 to shut Sendoh down before the game even begun, but Sendoh held really well. However, the late game just is Major's forte. GG. Game number 1. Gonna go to Windy. I hate saying Windy instead of Major, only because it sounds like I'm saying Wendy, like Peter Pan's girlfriend, Wendy.
Are we supposed to call him Windy? I thought that was just like...
I don't know. I'm calling him Major, and I'll be ignorant about it, and if he wants to throw a fit, then I will gladly stop. But he's gone through like 3 different name changes, and it's always been Major. I've always known him as Major. Everyone knows him as Major. If it really truly is Windy, then feel free to tweet at me, Major. Although I think last time Major tweeted at me, he was showing off his Pokemon videos. Some game he played had like 200,000 views on it. Alright, guys. So that's game number 1. Game number 2, I believe, is going to be hosted on Waystation, so I'll give that a moment to get up and running as this TVT continues. Again, I want to remind you guys, we only have 3 players participating tonight, so it will be a fairly short group for Group A. This is sadly because Winging could not attend tonight, but Jon Snow basically gets the walkover for his match, so the winner of this will go and fight the winner of Jon Snow, and all it really does is cut out one best of 3, is the bottom line.
2 best of 3s, right?
Oh wait, you're correct, yes, because the losers match too. I wasn't thinking about that.
Yeah.
But here we go, lobby set up. Let's go get the map intro preloaded here. So, Waystation. By the way, do you know who Ketrock is?
No.
I like that guy. He's like, nobody's super duper special, but I was watching his streaming last night. Took an island base on a Waystation. I was like, my man.
We should get like a Rifkin seal of approval for when people do stuff like that. Take the island base.
Just like a giant gold star.
Lift the gold, yeah.
Oh my god, that was actually the best part about the show matches you missed yesterday. MMA lifted to the gold versus Snoot and just puts like $50 signs in chat as he does it. And I guess for Snoot, he knew what was happening because Scarlet was like laughing her ass off or something. So good guy Snoot doesn't want to play like he knows what's going on, so he like plays as if he didn't know So he takes the 2 racks, he takes the attack, he takes the tanks, and does what he can. But I think if he had been like really just out for the win and not a good guy, he would have known exactly what was going on. Man, Home Strike Cup has got to be so fun. That atmosphere has got to be fantastic with all those players there.
Probably.
But alright, we're in the lobby for Way Station. Of course, getting all the casters in here for all the languages and all the administrators at the same time. Whoa. Is it your cat?
Yeah.
Okay, that sounded really loud, like that was in my room or something.
He's a loud cat. All my cats are very sad that I was gone for 2 days, 3 days.
Wow, you're lucky. My cat's just like, if I'm gone for the weekend, I come back, they're just like, oh, hey, what's up? Feed me. You were gone?
Oh, no.
What?
My cats are so needy. One just like slept in my mom's lap for 2 hours while she was on the computer.
Nice.
I just missed you so much.
My cat threw up on my bed last night, so I don't have any good cat stories
Awesome.
right now. No, it really wasn't. Wake up at 2 a.m., gotta clean all the sheets. Anyways, map introduction, less gross stories. See you in a moment. Welcome back to Copa America, ladies and gentlemen. Game number 2 underway, and Major up to some shenanigans. So let's get these intros done quickly. Spawning here in the top left corner of the map, the blue Terran player from Chaos Latin Gamers, it's going to be Sendoh.
The bottom right is the red Terran. It is Major. He's doing the 8
SCVs.
You went Italian there, and then you did the laugh.
Sorry. I was going for the count. Anyways, Reapers are on the way here, and this is a bit of a pain, guys. This is something that can oftentimes be a build order win, even if you get the barracks down quickly, even if you go for the faster factory. The best and only way to see this, or to deal with this, is to see it coming. And Sendoh, well, he did SCV Scout in game number 1. He's not sending one out yet, which means even if he does SCV Scout at this point, it will be too late.
Yeah. So what we're really paying attention to is whether or not he gets any Marines, pretty much. If he goes for a very fast factory, which he is not going for, that would have been a 12 gas first, he would have been in a lot of trouble. He would have nothing but SCVs to defend against the first initial orders.
Don't expand.
He's not. He had a 15 gas, so if he's going to expand, it's not quite yet, although it is coming. Is he going to see? No,
this is going to be really unfortunate. So by the time he gets over there, the Reaper will have already started. This works out well for Major, and this is a really intelligent move from Major, because what he's doing is playing to the strength of the map, and knowing that even if his opponent did scout, it's not typical to scout on an 8 SCV. You're never going to scout on a 7, and certainly not off your first 6. So this barracks would, generically, 9 times out of 10, go unscouted.
He's pumping out Marines, so far, like, everything he could do right.
Alright, so if he pulls like 3 SCVs to start with this one Marine, he'll be good.
Yeah.
Problem is, this Reaper's going to catch it.
Yeah, he was unfortunately got out of position. The SCV even tried to help a little bit by tanking a few right there.
And taking a little bit of the hits. The first Reaper, not so bad. The second Reaper, still not so bad. But when that third Reaper comes out, when the bunker completes, that's when this becomes really big troubles for poor Sendoh here. Now, Major gets away with this with 4 HP, almost dead. Bunker might be still alive. This will provide some high ground vision, which will be kind of nice, but it's going to go down in a sec here. Yeah.
The bunker almost never gets up. I've always ever seen it get up is when it's completely not scouted, and you didn't even see the SCV going to your base. Like, that's the only time I've ever seen it actually get completed. But like you said, the 2 Reapers, not even that scary. The 3 Reapers, and then above that is when it is scary. So that's Sendoh's also going to know that, so he knows he has to be really careful. You're guaranteed to live through this with almost no damage if you can get a Hellion out. A Hellion usually takes care of everything, although if they do go up to 5 or even 7 Reapers sometimes, they can take on 1 or 2 or more Hellions.
The problem is it's going to be a little bit of time until Hellions are out. This Reaper Massacre is going to do quite a bit of damage here as the Marines start dying.
He should not have gotten that starport. All of his money should have gone into getting a defense right now.
I like the concept. I mean, the thought process is, okay, gets one of the Reapers. The thought process, of course, is to get the Banshee out, right? You want to be able to just stop those Reapers outright, but going to be difficult to do. Now, granted, Major's not actually gotten the workers killed for this that you're meant to yet, and he is having a lot of trouble conquering the Marines. At this point, it looks like he's even starting to fall back a little bit.
If he had 1 more Reaper, if he had those 4 Reapers in total, this could take on both the Marines and that 1 Hellion. With only 3, it's like he would have to mess up the control a little bit.
Okay, well, as far as the worker count is concerned right now, guys, one of the big things is Major is starting to close that gap. And Sendoh, granted, is devoting a lot to defense.
No, the Hellion should not go out there. It's not the perfect defense.
I like the barracks, though.
But
this high ground is huge. The vision is huge.
He's getting another Hellion, though. He didn't stop the Hellion production, which is good.
Executes the Marine. Second one going to go down in a moment, too. With no Marines, those Hellions are going to be a joke to deal with. But that Banshee finally on the way might just be his salvation. 6 HP! Loses another Reaper. This is not looking good for Major. His cheese has not done the damage it's meant to.
Yeah, it hasn't done a lot of damage, but it's gotten good scouting. You know, he knows that the Banshees are on the way. It did delay the command center a little bit, and...
All right, I like his Viking first. I like his Viking first.
Well, yeah, he scouted the tech lab, so gotta get that. If Major doesn't need that, if he's gonna go for a Mac, which would be surprising on this map, but not, completely not doable. He obviously doesn't need that barracks.
Well, actually, you can't really afford to lose it, though, because they'll need to make more factories if this was planning to go down.
That is true. Sendoh going out like this is a little risky. If it was the case that Major had this build where he didn't expand and got, like, double Hellions behind this, the Marines would all die. Even now, there's 2 Hellions, the Marines are dying.
It would be, it's funny too, like, you think a lot of these buildings don't matter. Like, for example, if you float your factory early versus Protoss, you don't realize how much that sucks until you realize you don't have 2 starports down behind it. It's, that weird tech path, man. It can sometimes sting if you're not thinking about it.
So right now we're seeing what Major really did get from that. Well, he didn't get a whole lot of SCV kills. He got, indirect damage, as you usually hear it called. His command center was faster. His double SCV production was a lot faster. But
hang on. He's going to win the Hellion fight. There's no Banshee left at home, and there's no production coming out. These 4 Hellions are going to kill the SCVs.
This is game.
This should not have happened, bottom line. And a big part of this comes back to, like, wall off the front of the ramp, Sendoh!
Well, it seems to have been a game of he knew the ideas of defending, but he, kept on doing, the wrong... he went out to scout with that Marine. He wanted to scout with that Hellion, and here he added production before he really had any units after seeing that... Major still had units himself. It was just like...
At the same time, too, this is one of those classic moments where I think he felt he was a little further behind than he really was. Didn't realize he still had that lead over Major, and maybe that's why he felt pressure to move out.
He didn't have a lead. I would actually think that Sendoh thought he was a little more ahead, and that's why he was so confident.
Well, no, sorry, that's what maybe I phrased that right. I mean, he thought Major was further behind than he really was, and that's why he was, hoping there would be no follow-up to this, but the reality is, even though he's got 2 orbital command centers, even though he's got 2 SCVs and mules pumping at a time, guys, he's down to 1 harvester, to 29. A man or mule comes out of Major. He can actually repair his Hellions and use this effectively if he wants to. No SCVs in play.
Oh, Sendoh. Sendoh.
I gotta find that sound clip.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I do, because we'll be casting again
later. I don't
later.
even hear the sound clip, but I hear you awkwardly stop talking so you can play it.
So you know where it's cued in, exactly. It's fantastic. It's your fault for finding the sound clip, though, if we're going to be honest. Just saying.
That's true. I was the one who found it.
Alright, well,
it's
a little sad for Sendoh, guys. Major's on 2 bases. Sendoh doesn't have a chance in hell. If this was like a different player, if this was like a Bronze Leaguer, if Major wasn't Major, this could maybe be something he can come back from, but even the Vikings land, this is so brutal.
Sendoh has some serious fantasy GG timings, not gonna lie. It's not like he doesn't have another chance, okay, guys? Like, this is GSL format, so GG does come out, but Sendoh has the losers match and then automatically the deciders match because one person didn't show up.
Yeah, he's basically just won the losers match already before it's even begun. So Major will go on to fight against Jon Snow here in the actual winners bracket. The winner of this best of 3 will get through the group stage 100%, and the loser will go fight Sendoh once again. So we'll see.